This video is brought to you by
Auckland Photographer's Clothing.
Welcome in this free YouTube photography course for beginners. My name is Benjamin Jaworskyj, photographer and adventurer, and 15 years ago I started to teach myself photography. And now for many years I travel the world as a professional photographer and filmmaker. And when I started with photography, there were no fancy free YouTube courses in that quality on YouTube or just any courses available for download like on my website, learnfromben.com. I had to learn it the hard way. I went to the library, I made myself a card, I had to borrow every book that was available about photography, and I studied, read all the pages, and then had to practice, and made a lot of mistakes. And you don't have to, because you have this beautiful course. So bookmark it now and watch it whenever you want if you don't have the full time available now. You will learn in this course everything you will need to know to get started with photography. I would say it's the only course you need to learn photography, to learn to master your camera. I will teach you the basics like aperture, ISO, shutter speed, different camera models, different lenses, when to use what lens, autofocus modes, manual focus, how to actually use manual focus. Why is it any good? Do I sometimes even use auto mode? Why is it also good? And JPEG, RAW, white balance, all the different terms you will learn in this course. And I will not use my professional camera like I would usually do. I will use an entry-level camera because I think most of the people watching this course right now might have the same camera. It's maybe 500 bucks with a lens, good to start with. You will also see what the camera sees. So not only me talking, but also what the camera sees, all the little settings in the menu, all the little focus points running around on the screen. So whatever the camera sees and whatever I do on the camera, you will see as well. And you will get some exercises with each lesson to practice at home. Because watching and theory is one thing, but of course practice is another thing. So let's not waste any more time here with this introduction. I see you tomorrow for the first lesson here in this course. In this first lesson we talk about cameras. What different cameras are out there on the market, what are the differences, why are some cameras more expensive than other cameras, and what cameras may be right for you. I have two different cameras here with me now, and one is an APS-C camera, the smaller one here. It's an entry-level camera, and I will photograph in this whole course here with this cheaper entry-level camera. It costs around $500 with a kit lens. Kit lens means a lens is in the package when you buy the camera. You can also buy cameras without a lens. This is then called body only. So the camera body is this thing and the lens is this thing, and when you buy everything together, it's a kit. And this is a cheap kit lens. It's not the best lens, but it's okay. But about lenses we talk later. And this is another camera, a more professional camera. This is a full frame camera, and you usually buy it without a lens. You can buy it in a kit as well, and then usually with the more expensive cameras there are better kit lenses included, but this here is now no kit lens but just any lens. So what is the difference now between both of them? A full frame camera, APS-C camera, maybe you've heard the terms already, and in general the main difference is the sensor size. Both of those cameras are mirrorless cameras. Those are more modern cameras and they don't have a mirror, as the name already says, mirrorless. And older cameras are DSLR cameras and they have a mirror. They're a little bit more bulky. I photographed a lot with DSLR cameras. Today, most manufacturers don't build DSLR cameras anymore, but only mirrorless cameras. So when you buy a new camera, you will get a mirrorless camera, and when you buy maybe a used and older camera, you can also buy a DSLR camera. There's nothing bad about it. It's just technically a little bit more advanced to use a mirrorless camera, and you can do a little bit more with mirrorless cameras that you can't do with a DSLR camera. But then again, DSLR cameras are a little bit cheaper, so when you look for a budget, maybe get a used DSLR camera. What should you look for when you buy a camera? I would look for three things. First thing, that you can change lenses. This is one huge advantage with real cameras compared to a smartphone. You can change lenses. So you can put almost any lens on the camera and then make a whole different look, better image quality. The real camera look you can achieve with the lenses. You can use wide-angle lenses, telelenses, and so on. It's a huge advantage. And you can, over the years, maybe change the camera, but still keep the lenses. But about lenses, I will make a whole lesson which follows after this lesson here. So not talk too much about lenses now, but that's a huge advantage, and I would use that advantage and not buy a camera where you have a fixed lens. Second thing is, you should be able to set everything manually. There are still cameras out there where you cannot set everything manual, and again, that's a huge advantage with real cameras compared to a smartphone, that you can set everything manual. And with everything, I mean ISO, aperture, shutter speed, focus, and white balance and all the other stuff as well. But those are the most important things to set manually in a camera. With smartphones, for example, most of the times you cannot set the aperture manual. It's fixed most of the times. There are some manufacturers now that you can do like 2 different settings, but with the camera you can do a lot of different settings, and that is important because when you want to do real photography, you will learn to master the manual mode, and you will learn it in this course as well. And the third thing that you already heard is the sensor size, because different cameras have different sensor sizes, and with the different sizes comes a different price. And this is usually why some cameras are more expensive than other cameras, because the sensor is bigger and the image quality with that is a little bit better, and also you have some other advantages. But because it's bigger, the data usually is also bigger, and the whole handling in the camera is more complicated, and that's why it's more expensive. And let's talk a little bit about the sensor sizes that are available. Most common is APS-C, which is in this camera, and I can show you, it looks like this. This is the sensor here. With mirrorless cameras, you see it when you take the lens off. With DSLR cameras, you have to flip the mirror open to see in the sensor. And this here is a full-frame camera.
Before we continue with this lesson, let's take a quick look at the sponsor of today's video, who's making this lesson available to you for free.
As an outdoor photographer, you want to stay cozy and organized, even when conditions are not. That's why we created the first 7-in-1 jacket for photographers. Don't worry about the weather. Focus on what is important. 3 jacket layers. 7 possible combinations for any weather. Dirty lens? Where did you put your lens cloth? It can be so simple. In the left sleeve pocket. Need a full battery, SD card, or tripod plate? Take them out of your small photo bag in your jacket. A total of 27 pockets, because as a photographer, you can't have enough pockets. Waterproof, windproof, breathable, insulated. 3 jacket layers. 7 possible combinations. Less than $400. Order your Hawkland 7-in-1 jacket for photographers now at www.hawkland.us.
Also check out the photography backpack, winter gloves and the Parker Pro jacket system made for professional use. Now on sale, discontinued and off-season items up to 60% off at www.hawkland.us.
Hawkland, photographer's clothing.
This here is a full-frame camera. It looks like this, so much bigger, and I will show you a little graphic while I'm talking where you see different sensor sizes next to each other. Full frame, APS-C, micro four thirds, and then also smartphone and a coin next to it, so that you just see how different the sensor sizes are. And again, in general, you can say the bigger the sensor, the better the image quality, because the pixels have more space to capture light and can perform better. And the smaller the sensor, the less size they have and the more they are squeezed, and it's just not that nice of quality in general speaking. There are now new technologies and so on, and we honestly have to say that the more advanced cameras get, the better also the smaller sensors get, with a lot of software and a lot of just improvements, but still a bigger sensor for most photographers is better to use. But not for everyone, and also it comes with a catch, because bigger sensors are more expensive. And as a beginner, it's totally fine to start with a smaller sensor like micro four thirds, like APS-C, but you have to take care of a few things, because with a smaller sensor comes a crop factor into play. and you have to calculate that crop factor when you want to choose a lens. What is a crop factor? It's very easy to explain when you just see it. Right now we are filming with a full frame camera like this one here. And the full frame camera has a big sensor and on it is a lens. This lens here is a 35mm lens we are filming with, and we are on a tripod right now, so the position is steady. And you see what you see right now. So this is the look you get with 35mm on a full frame camera. When I would now take the same lens and put it on a smaller camera, on an APS-C camera like this one, exact same lens, and we put the camera with that lens on the exact same position, the image would look like this. It's cropped in. And this is the so-called crop factor. Because you have to imagine you have your lens, and the lens makes the image on the sensor. And when you have now a smaller sensor, you see less through that lens. And this is why you have that crop factor. And crop factor means something is cropped off, and it gives you the effect that you are zoomed in. But you're not actually zoomed in, you're cropped in. And this is the so-called crop factor. So whenever you buy a lens, you have to calculate that crop factor, because manufacturers usually use the reference to a full frame camera. It's super complicated, I don't know why they do it, but it's like this. So when you want to buy a lens and you see maybe a photographer who says, oh, buy a 35mm lens, you always have to take in consideration, is he using an APS-C or is he using a full frame? Because depending on what he uses, it's a totally different look. This is important, and I will explain it again when we talk about lenses. The good thing is you can compensate that crop by just using another focal length. So let's say you want to achieve the same look that I have on a 16mm lens with a full frame camera. You then get an 11 or 10mm lens for an APS-C camera. And this is almost then the same look from the exact same position. But there are not all focal lengths available to have the exact same result, and as well when you want nice blurry background, you cannot always achieve the exact same look with an APS-C camera. But for most photographers, especially in the beginning, that's not important. Then when you're later on and a bit more nerdy maybe as well, then it might be important for you. But what should you take care of now when you want to buy a camera? Again, the three things: manual settings, changeable lens, sensor size. Then next to the sensor size, in some cameras is a bit more advanced of an autofocus, a bit more megapixels maybe. Then they have other video features. Maybe they can film 4K, maybe even 8K nowadays. Maybe they have a different flip screen, maybe they have a bigger viewfinder, maybe they have bigger batteries, maybe they have 2 SD card slots, and so on and so on. Maybe sometimes the ISO can go higher, maybe the ISO noise is a little bit less with some cameras. So there are a lot of special things. When a beginner asks me what camera to buy, I would always tell him, buy the camera that is in your budget. Don't care too much about the camera, just get started. Just get started, practice, get to use the modes of the camera, get to use shutter speed, ISO, aperture, understand what it does, try out different lenses, and then when you know what you want, then upgrade to another camera and maybe collect your old camera, keep it or sell it or gift it to somebody, or do whatever you want with that older camera. Maybe use it one day or the other again, but get started with just any camera that is in your budget. And if it's $500, buy a $500 camera. If it's $1,000, buy a $1,000 camera maybe, or buy a cheaper camera but then 2 lenses or something, and just get started. So that's what I can recommend you. My exercise, I have an exercise in each lesson for you today, is to take your camera when you have one already and look at it and check if it's an APS-C camera. So what sensor size do you have? Or is it a full frame camera? Is it maybe a micro four thirds camera? And then check if you can change the lens. Check if you can set everything manual. You don't have to know now what all the terms mean. You will learn that in that course. But just check your camera, look at it, and get to know your camera. And in the next lesson, we will go over the camera and I will explain you every button you have on the camera and when to use it, which buttons are important, which buttons are maybe not that important, and so on. And then we can get started step by step with photography. Did you like this free lesson from my course? Then please click thumbs up and write me in the comments which camera you are currently using for photography. The complete 4-hour Simply Learn Photography course is available on my website www.learnfromben.com. There you can download the full course immediately, watch it at your own pace and start bringing your photography on a new level. Or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, because over the next 2 years there will be a free lesson from the course every month on this channel with sponsored advertisements. So everyone can access my photography knowledge long term, regardless of their budget, and learn the coolest hobby in the world. So subscribe to the channel now. Every Saturday at 9 AM you can watch a new video about photography, and if you want the full course now, go to www.learnfromben.com and download the complete 4-hour XXL course and many other courses immediately. My name is Benjamin Jaworskyj, thank you for watching, and I wish you some amazing photos.